Today we will hear from Black Americans speaking on the latest big news with Trump addressing birthright citizenship for foundational Black Americans, as the Supreme Court will decide about immigrants being born on U.S. soil guarantees citizenship, even for undocumented immigrant parents. Check it out.
So there's been some changes to birthright citizenship, if you haven't already heard. The conversation got all the way up to the Supreme Court as to basically take a look at what birthright citizenship is actually supposed to mean based off of the 14th Amendment. And what they ruled was that the 14th Amendment was really for the freed slaves. It wasn't for any and everybody to be able to come over here, whether legally or illegally, just to birth a child and make that child into a citizen. So now, instead of your child automatically being a citizen, if you came here illegally, if you didn't have any citizenship, but you decide to come over here, have your baby, and think that they're going to be a citizen, that ain't happening no more. As far as I know, I think that it's passed, and I think this coming summer, I believe, is when it'll officially take into effect. So if you don't have a baby before that time, anything after that, and you are not legal, if you are not a fully legal citizen or have some type of, I forget what the other stipulation was, then your child is not an American citizen. So no more coming over here, dropping a couple babies and making them into citizens. That's not going to happen anymore. And honestly, I agree with it. I think that that's the right way to go. The 14th Amendment was for the free slaves. It wasn't just for any and everybody to be able to come over here, drop some babies and make them into citizens. That's just not what it was for. And I'm glad that this has been clarified, to be honest with you. And so what does this mean for Black Americans? Absolutely nothing. Like we were saying before to all of the people that were like, you guys are next. They're going to try to get rid of you next. That's the reason why they're taking a look at this 14th Amendment. That's the reason why they're trying to take away birthright citizenship. They're trying to take it away from you guys. No, apparently they were not. And my thing is this, how were we next when we were always first? How could we be next when we were always first? Like, we were the first ones that they were trying to get rid of multiple times, and they cannot do it. Okay, so people will be trying to school us on shit like we ain't been here. Like we not privy to all of this shit. Like we ain't been used to this. Like we don't have stories from generations and generations ago from our grandparents and great grandparents. Like we don't already know how this shit goes. Y'all are the ones that are new to this shit. Y'all are the ones that's just now coming over here. You don't need to school us. We already know. We was trying to school y'all, and then y'all tried to flip it back on us. Talking about, no, y'all are next. Y'all are next. Bitch, we was always first. We was never next. You better be out in those streets protesting, FBAs, because the big bad orange boogeyman is coming for you guys next. If they're doing it to us, they're going to do it to you too. They're going to try to do something. You're going to get rid of you guys too. Bitch, we've been here. I'm going to say it 1,000,000 times if I got to.
There's going to be a Supreme Court case on Donald Trump's birthright citizenship executive order. So let me give a little bit of background on what exactly happened here. So what happened is the Supreme Court made a decision to hear arguments in this case, which is Trump versus Barbara, that is consolidated with another case that was Trump versus Washington. It marks a pivotal moment in immigration law, challenging over a century of precedent on the 14th Amendment's citizenship clause. So this got announced just a couple days ago, about 4 days ago. Last Friday. President Trump has had an aggressive second-term push to redefine who qualifies for automatic U.S. citizenship at birth. Some of you may know about this. Donald Trump's been challenging this. That just because you were born, the law has generally been if you were born on American soil, then you have birthright citizenship. Just because you were born in America, you are an American citizen. So even if both of your parents came to America without proper documentation, if they conceive and you are born in Oklahoma, then you, even though both of your parents are here without proper documentation, you would be an American citizen just because you were born in America. Donald Trump has been challenging this and saying that it shouldn't be this way.
Did you guys watch the Senate hearings today on birthright citizenship? Okay, well, the main objective to solidifying birthright citizenship for the descendants of slaves was that it has the possibility to unravel all these white people's citizenship going back to 1866, who would not be able to prove how they migrated to this country, and it would make all of them deportable. Yes, deportable, all the way back to 1866. Now, I don't think most white people can prove how they got into this country. And that's because back then the country was so racist that they weren't asking white people, what's your documentation? Let me see your paperwork and all that. The only people that have to walk around with papers in their pocket was black people, Africans, free slaves, or people that bought their freedom. We're the only people that had actual documentation that we were free people walking across this land. See, white people didn't need that. So if we solidify that the 14th Amendment was written for the descendants of African slaves, then most white people in this country will be deportable, even their offsprings, all the way 60, 70, it doesn't matter. If they can't prove their lineage going back to 1866, it will make them an illegal alien in this land, and they will be deportable back to their home countries. Honestly, I think America wants this because we don't have the money to keep taking care of everybody. And we can deport as many people back to their homelands as we can. That means we ain't got to worry about paying them Social Security. We ain't got to worry about their Medicare. We ain't got to worry about none of that. We'll send them back to their countries, and then the countries of their origin would have to worry about those things because they were here illegally all this time. So I think everybody needs to pay attention to this because the only true heritage Americans in this country are the descendants of slaves, natives, and those who fought in the Civil War or were in the North for the Masons and all that back then. If you weren't here when the Civil War was won, when the 14th and the 15th Amendment was signed into law, you're really not an American. You're really not, according to the 14th Amendment, because you're not under the jurisdiction thereof. So I'm really hoping that this works out for us as the descendants of slaves and us as Americans, because we need to solidify who actually is an American in this country, because we have so many people that come over here that swear up and down that they're true Americans, when the only true Americans. Yeah. My people. I love it. So let's hope that the Supreme Court and that the Senate finally makes this decision and understands if you don't have any documentation about how you came to this country, you're not an American. You're an illegal and your children are anchor babies, and you all need to be deported. I don't give a fuck who you are.
When people operate off of hate, this is what happens. Okay. If y'all haven't heard about the reverse birthright citizenship law being passed, and there's only a few states that's fighting it, and I'm not going to lie, I am surprised that Miami, Florida, Hialeah, y'all be acting like y'all don't be falling underneath these laws that's being passed. But anyway, Hialeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Y'all know if you know, you know. But let me get into it. Evidently, if both parents was illegal when you were born, you are not a citizen. And so my question now is, can you imagine being an adult, a teenager in college, high school, and you don't know anything else but America? Your birth certificate say American, and all of a sudden you no longer American citizen. Now the question is, are they going to allow them to get some other kind of documents, or is one of those where they're just going to get picked up? I'm just curious because I can see if it starts now, but it looks like they're going to go back and try. And not only that, suppose your parents is now legal citizen. Do they go by that, or they go by when you were born? Listen, I'm going to end it with this. Y'all stop voting, or should I say vote. Y'all got to take politics serious, because even the birthright citizen, when we heard about that being taken away, I laughed. I was like, child, please, how can you do that? But when people operate off of hate, they gonna make it happen.
I don't see a lot of creators talking about this, but the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear oral argument regarding President Trump's challenge to birthright citizenship on April 1st, 2026. The case that President Trump is challenging focuses on whether an executive order can end automatic citizenship for children born in the U.S. to undocumented or temporary status. That could be a big win for Black Americans because, as we all know, Black Americans are the descendants of slaves, which the 14th Amendment birthright citizenship was originally for. So basically, because the United States is having an immigration issue, if this order that Trump is challenging gets passed, Black Americans in America will have a greater chance now of getting assistance, getting a job, and so much more. Like, you guys need to wake up and realize what's going on right now.
There is only one book in the world where you could read about the hidden law, The Baby Follows the Belly, that captured American Indians from 1662 and 1682 and then reclassified us as Black. The law, The Baby Follows the Belly of 1662 and 1682, of course, is 100 years before the United States. The United States had no problem using that law to take jurisdiction over us with the 14th Amendment. The Baby Follows the Belly law was overturned with the 13th Amendment. 3 years later, the 14th Amendment would reclassify all those freed American Indians into Black citizens on their United States census. As the United States uses the Baby Follows the Belly law to interpret birthright citizenship, they are not going to educate you about this reclassification. Only you can re-educate yourself. Only you can free yourself. I wrote the book. It's in the bio. It's only 35 pages to freedom. Welcome home.
This awakening is long overdue. For over 100 years, racist individuals from Asian, Hispanic, European, along with jealous African and Caribbean immigrants have sabotaged freedmen progress through undercutting, exclusion, and policy theft, while benefiting off our struggle and sacrifice. This is divine judgment. America is under judgment, not by man, but by God himself. The same God who judged Egypt, who judged Babylon, who judged Rome, is now weighing America in the balance and finding her wanting. America has sown destruction, and now it reaps decline. It has sown arrogance, and now it reaps humiliation. It has sown lies, and now it reaps truth, truth that cannot be hidden anymore. America is a land built on blood, on the sweat and suffering of the people it has enslaved, displaced, and silenced. But tell that truth today, and they call it divisive. They call it unpatriotic. They want you to believe that history is just a collection of dates and figures, stripped of the brutality, the deception, the theft. They tell you the Trail of Tears was just relocation, that the Colfax Massacre, Wilmington Coup and Massacre, Rosewood Massacre, Atlanta Race Massacre, Ocoee Massacre, Tulsa Massacre, Harlem Race Massacres of 1943 and 1964 was just riots, and that Jim Crow was merely a setback. What they refuse to admit is that America was never a nation of freedom. It was a nation of conquest, built on white supremacy, and it has never stopped being one. And that is why they are so desperate to erase the past. You see, history, real history, has power. It reveals the truth of this nation, of what was done and what is still being done. They call it critical race theory today, but it's just the truth, and that's why they fight so hard to bury it. From school boards banning books, to politicians scrubbing slavery from textbooks, to social media platforms silencing voices that dare speak honestly about America's past. White supremacy is culturally ingrained into every aspect of white society, in the home, school, religion, and politics. But tell me, what does it say about a people who fear history? It says they know their hands are bloody, and they are terrified that their children will ask them why. Because the truth would destroy their illusion of innocence. The same way it did when the world saw Black Wall Street burn. The same way it did when Jim Crow's chains were exposed for what they were. The same way it did when the Southern strategy was revealed as a blueprint for racial control, not democracy. But America has always had a strategy. Slave patrols became the police. Redlining became modern real estate steering. The plantation became the prison. And now, they want to act like none of it happened. They want to rewrite history to keep future generations obedient, ignorant, docile. And yet, what they don't understand is that you cannot erase pain. You cannot erase memory. You cannot erase the reality of people who have suffered and endured. This nation made laws to steal land from Native people. The Homestead Act gave free land to whites while barring Black freedmen Americans from ownership. The Immigration Act of 1924 made sure America remained a white country, closing its doors to those it deemed unfit. And when we, Black freedmen Americans, dared to build wealth, dared to thrive, they sent mobs, they sent bombs, they sent laws disguised as justice to tear down Black freedmen Americans' communities. And it wasn't enough for them to unalive us. They had to erase us. They built highways through our neighborhoods, turning communities into ghettos. They passed California Proposition 14 to uphold segregation. They used COINTELPRO to assassinate black leaders. They used the Daughters of Confederates to put Confederate statues in our faces, not in 1865, but during the Civil Rights Movement, as a warning, as a message. And still, they want us to believe in their version of America, an America where slavery was a misunderstanding, where the Tuskegee experiment was a footnote, where mass incarceration is just an accident. No, sir. No, ma'am. White supremacy is in the bones of this country, in the schools, the churches, the homes, the politics. It is a disease, and they refuse to cure it. But there is something they should fear more than the truth being known. They should fear what happens when the next generation realizes they have been lied to. What happens when young people of all colors understand that history was stolen from them, that their textbooks were propaganda, that their teachers were ordered to deceive. A people who know they have been deceived do not trust, and a people who do not trust begin to question everything. That is what America fears most, not the past, but the reckoning it demands. And that reckoning is coming. No matter how many books they ban, no matter how many voices they silence, no matter how many lies they tell, truth is like a flame. It spreads. And once it touches the people, it cannot be extinguished. The question is not whether America will reckon with its past. The question is whether America will survive what it has done. Tell me what you think about this topic. Hope you find the information in this video informative. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Thanks for watching.